Welcome to the Journos on PLZ Soccer's premium channel. I'm Peter Martin. Hugh, McDonald and Alison McConnell are here with me in the studio. Thank you very much for signing up to premium. And when you actually get to watch this programme and listen to it a little later on in the week, if you're on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, why not hit the subscribe button? And if you want to join premium, you're in the hat for a chance to go to the Champions League final in Budapest at the Puskás Arena. You and your pal, flights and accommodation, tickets for the match, something to be savoured. So with that in mind, hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's premium channel and tell your friends as well. Share it if you can. It's great news that we are teamed up with Maggie's as our official charity partner, and if you go to www.maggies.org, you'll be able to find out all the great work and support that they offer people affected by cancer. So it is the Journos, and as ever we like to talk about lots of the issues, some closer to home and some further afield. Derek McInnes, he said it's foolish for anybody to suggest that they could go and win the league. Talk of them being it's going to win the title, but is it foolish to suggest second?
No, I don't think at all, and I think he's got to keep his, he'll keep our expectations low, because we had conversations like this with Aberdeen last year. Remember, could they win the league? I think Hearts are in a much stronger position. Certainly the depth of squad, depth of ambition. They will reinvest again in January. But no, I think I think the Hearts, shall we call it experiment? It's not an experiment because he's going to be there for a few years. But the Hearts' way of working has already started pretty well. I mean, I'm on record as saying that I foresee clashes between Derek and the analytics side of it. I don't think that they're a perfect mix. But in all these things, there's clashes. There's always clashes with managers and recruitments and things like that. So it's certainly interesting, and it's certainly started as well as they possibly could have hoped.
Well, if there's clashes, he's not making them known. I mean, he's looked at it and he's embraced it in his early press conferences. And when you look at the squad he has available, I mean, I've been at more than a few games where he's been able to make those changes from the bench, Ali.
Yeah, I think the only blip for him so far has been the cup exit going out against St Mirren in the League Cup. Is probably the only black mark so far. But I think what Hugh's predicting in terms of the clashes is nitty gritty. Like when you get deeper down the line and someone says, he maybe wants a player and the analytics suggest another player, and maybe for there'll be isolated moments where you maybe have a difference in opinion over key attributes. It might be that you want someone that you are more aware of, for instance, and the analytics might suggest someone else. But I think by and large, in terms of it, the actual philosophy of it itself and the implementation, well, you can already see that it's been fairly successful. But also I don't think you can overlook maybe just the man management to the human element of it. I think you've got a manager who's gone in and he's very aligned with the way that the club wants to play. He's implemented a very clear strategy and identity of how that team play, and crucially for me, I think he's getting the best out of players that were there. I think Lawrence Shankland looks like a different player from the player he was last season, and I think it's easy to say things like he looks fitter, he looks sharper. I think maybe sometimes when it's not coming from you, we all focus on these elements and say, you're inclined to be more critical of them, and certainly to put them under a microscope a bit more. But what you can see, I think, from the outside is a team that are very cohesive and a team that are very aligned to the manager's way of thinking.
And the other thing about it, Hugh, is sometimes if you have a situation where you have Jamestown analytics, some people just embrace the fact that, right, you're using that system, there's no other elements involved. But as Ali pointed out there is an element that's so huge, crucial, which is a human element.
I mean, I've just read a really good book, How to Win the Premier League. It's a guy who's the head of analytics at Liverpool, and it's hugely interesting in how that works, how the elements, it's certainly data-led, but it's not data exclusive. I mean, the manager has to have his say, things like that. The manager wouldn't have a veto. I mean, Klopp didn't have veto in players. Klopp got players that were visited upon him at times. But it was really interesting to note For example, like, and in a lesser extent, Derek will have this as well at Hearts, where they look at somebody like Sadio Mane, and they've been following him from the Bundesliga right to Southampton. They've been doing analysis on him for a long time, and they say analytically he is the player we need. But they've done their due diligence, and they've heard reports that Sadio Mane, you know, might not be a team player, might be a disruptive influence in the dressing room. So normally that would be an X. That's a big failure for Liverpool.
Yeah.
But Klopp said, no. I want him, I'll handle him. So you know
that's where there has to be
that human, and then it has to be that the board, in this case Fenway Sports Group, says to the manager, okay, right, it's on you.
Yeah, but the other thing,
crucially, is that you can't have either party that are overly rigid. You have to have a grey area in the middle where you can both express reservations or doubts, or the alternative, like give it your backing and explain why, and then there maybe has to be compromise on both sides.
Yeah, but the ultimate aspect of a manager's job, and we've all seen this because we've either written about it or we've been speaking about it on a regular basis, is quite simply that a manager has to deal with the human element of the madness of a person's life.
Yeah.
So if he's happy, if he's not getting someone in his ear saying, by the way, Rangers are interested in you, by the way, you'll definitely get a move, by the way, we think you're worth this, and then Shankland's probably, his head's all mushed, and at times that pressure comes, family, friends always asking him, so that can affect it. Then you get the player who, so you've been out, you've smashed your car, you've got in trouble, you know, you've got family problems. Do you know what I mean? So all of those things, all of those things, and how you deal with it, and the classic, you know, the ultimate person is like Fergie. You know, you've jumped into the crowd, you've kicked the boy. I'm going to stick by you. I'm going to, you know, but these things are bonkers. But sometimes a manager
without Fergie, Cantona would never have gone back. Without Fergie going over. And,
no, it's the ultimate, isn't it?
I mean, that's taking
But I mean, he used to do it all the time with Keane. I mean, every time Keane gets sent off, he would never. I mean, and we know he was biling about Keane getting sent off in certain games, and he went through Keane in dressing rooms. It was great. But every time when he's up in front of cameras, defending him when you're saying this is, but this is a crucial thing about football that we heard Maresca saying the other day there, you know, and he got really applauded that stress is working as a fisherman 10 hours, and everybody claps that and says that's wonderful. But it's as if we say, well, footballers, they can't have stress because they're on 300 grand a week, and it's just nonsense. Of course they can. They're human beings, and if you're not playing, if you want to go elsewhere, if your wife says why we're here, we're not talking about downing tools. We're talking about reducing performance. You see with Maida. You see with Maida. I mean, we saw it before the Maida story came out, and you know, the first away game of the season at Pittodrie, in the first 5 minutes I'm sitting with my son, and he turns around to me and says, what's up with Maida?
I was at that game. He didn't track back, and you're thinking, I've seen you do that in the 98th minute of a game.
Running 100 yards when you're 4-0 up.
I was at that game, and it stood out like a sore thumb because it's the antithesis of what he is as a player.
Yeah, well, the ultimate one is, as we've mentioned before, is you know, Walter Smith with Gascoigne, which is just basically, you know, Billy Connolly saying to him, listen, remember, you have to accommodate genius because genius will not accommodate you. And then ultimately, you know, you get numerous players who've had the fallouts, and you've got to look at the personality of the manager and how able he is to get him back into the fold. I mean, I can remember standing trackside interviewing Sir Bobby Robson. He'd brought his Barcelona side over for a friendly match, and I said to him, I love your number 8, Sir Bobby. And he went, 100 fags a day, son. Prozinecki. And I thought to myself, wow, he's putting up with everything, you know. But if you're Prozinecki, listen, here you are there, I bought you 20 MC.
Well, I interviewed Walter Smith once about genius, just about genius.
Yeah.
And it was on the back of, I'd went to Murchill Lippy lecture
At Hampden,
and I was sitting listening to Lippy, and Lippy was asked the question, do you manage Del Piero different from me? And Lippy says, oh no, I manage every player the same. And all I heard was this snort behind me, and I turned round and it was Walter Smith. I said, I'll file that for later. And I had a conversation with him a few weeks later. What's this? He says, no, you can't do that. He says, you've got to manage the player. He said, apparently when he'd signed Gascoigne, he went into the dressing room and he told them all, and we were all big boys, they were, he said to them, listen, if anyone's getting to say it now, this boy will not cover the man he's supposed to at a corner. He won't track back. He'll lose the ball sometimes when he shouldn't. He'll be away on sponsors' days when he should be training. He said, but he's going to earn you your bonus every week and he's going to win us this league. So if anyone's got any problems with it, say it now, but don't come moaning to me later that, he didn't track back or he missed his man. Tell me now.
Yeah, that's the classic, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes and Gary Neville. They all turn up in their suits for a function. Cantona turns up in a trackie with a pair of trainers on, and you think to yourself, well, he's a genius. And that in mind, again, it's amazing how it takes us off at a tangent with regards to Derek McInnes, but you always look for those little bumps in the road, or you look for those little tests in the road. And as far as the Hearts fans are concerned, I don't know too many who are sitting saying, we want to win the league. They're enjoying the ride. They're enjoying the fact that they can go to Tynecastle and see a team winning, attacking. I have to say, it's interesting to see how Derek McInnes does it, because we tend to look at him with his Aberdeen days as a very pragmatic manager, just maybe even with Tony Docherty, who we had in here, and he said, the two of us obviously still feel we should have won the league with Aberdeen, but they didn't. But this time around, they're 9 points clear of Rangers. I know you think Rangers are going to reel them back in, Ali, which is absolutely fine.
I have to say though, I thought Rangers would have got their act together quicker. The longer it goes on, where they are performing the way that they are, and it looks fairly chaotic still, the harder that gets to close. I do still think they should have enough over the course of the campaign, when you look at the squad that Rangers have and the depth they have and the scope of potentially adding in January if second place is in jeopardy. I think they still should reel it back in. But at what point when it gets to 12, do you say it's gone, or at what stage does it start to look untenable? But I think for Rangers it's the unthinkable not to even finish second.
Yeah, 12 points would be, you'd start to say to yourself, that's a heck of a lot to make up on a side.
And you think that's just one slip away.
But the other thing that we have to take into consideration here with Hearts, and I've enjoyed watching them, I don't think they're all singing, all dancing just yet. I think there's a wee bit to go in them as well.
Well, if you look at the results, if you look at the results kind of forensically, you look at the Motherwell game, you were there, I think they not quite get out of jail, but, they're 3-0 down. Last minute winner at Livy, beat a knackered Dundee United team, possibly a bit lucky, not possibly, got the favourite decisions against Rangers as well. So it's not as if they're, as George Burley, Rudy Scatchell, sort of cutting a swathe in the front. It's fine. They've got the breaks.
Crucially, though, what it does is gives you a head of steam.
It does, and it does, and it's only people like us that look at a bit under and look at the thing. I think the interesting thing about his whole appointment of McInnes, the way Andrew McKinley and Hearts went about it, they've said in the summer, even under what they've said, listen, we can't have a project here. We can't take a chance in a Critchley.
Their timing was also good. It was seamless. The season finished and he was in.
Said, right, we're in. And we've got this guy, and for good or for ill, he's not going to be even if things go against him, there's no disaster quotient here. This is as good as you're going to get.
And here's the test.
Right.
Hibs at the weekend, which is the ultimate barometer for the bragging rights in the city. He's got the home game, he's away to Kilmarnock, and then he's at home at Tynecastle against Celtic.
Yep.
So if you're looking at those 3 games, and sometimes we do from time to time, you know, look and go to yourself, what's worst case scenario, what's best case scenario from that? Best case is always, you know, ever the optimist Hearts fan said, you know, you could take 9 from that. But I think realistically, if he looks and says he's got 6 from that, he'll be absolutely ecstatic. And then that would mean a loss to Celtic, and they'd be reeled back into a point.
I think the way Celtic are playing, that game's at Tynecastle, isn't it? Like, I think the way Celtic are playing just now, I think they'd fancy their chances. I think they'd fancy themselves even for a point.
Yeah.
Celtic are so toothless at the minute up front. They really look impotent. Huge games where they're dominating possession, but they're not cutting teams open.
Well, I noticed they've signed up Henrik Larsson for the new fashion range. I just wonder if they're saying, what's your fitness like?
Still looks as though he could play.
It does look as if he could play. But I look at the Hearts side and I go Swallow, McEntee, Halkett, Finlay and Kingsley, Milne, Baningame, Devlin, Kizaridis, Braga and Shankland. That's more or less probably the boy Agu, the Brazilian.
Who they really fancy.
Yeah, there've been lots about him. But if you look at their bench, Hugh, Steinwinder, Forrest, Cabangu, Magnuson, Carriota, McCart, Spittle, James Wilson, Xander Clarke, and obviously the
Strong pool.
returning. Yeah,
It's a very strong
and
pool.
Agu, when he comes back, if he is good, as they say, then we'll get a flash of him in the midfield that could change the dynamics of the way they go about their business. But nevertheless, I look at that side and I'm saying to myself, if he's a goal behind in the derby, you can bring somebody on to change it. If he's got Celtic at 0-0 and he thinks they're there for the taking, maybe he can bring something on. Whereas before, it was always I always got the feeling sometimes they were damage limitation. You know, you're just trying to sneak a point.
Their starts in the derby, particularly at Tynecastle, are so strong.
Yeah,
I think you would all, I think you're always leaning towards Hearts at Tynecastle when it's at Easter Road's a different story maybe, but I don't think I can see past Hearts this weekend.
neither can I, Hugh. You?
No, I can't either. I've been I've been disappointed in Hibs in big games.
Yeah.
And even disappointed in their passive attitude, and even at Celtic Park. I mean, I know there was a lot of moaning and groaning, but if you look at the figures and look at the highlights and the incidents, and I know games are not played with stats, but Celtic should have won that cosy.
Yeah, but if
It's going to be Celtic. I think between now and January, Celtic are just going to struggle till they bring in reinforcements. I think that they look turgid like that, like creating chances.
Well, if they're going to struggle and turgid, we're in for a nice ding dong. The only problem is you don't have signs that Rangers are suddenly, they're going to motor. You don't have that yet. But if it does emerge, with Russell Martin in place, then all fine and well. Suddenly you've got 3 teams up the top. I don't know where the fourth one is, because I thought Dundee United might be in the mix, but I was up at Tannadice at the weekend and they get dismantled by Kelly, who played some really lovely football.
Well, so this is the thing about it's a very interesting season for that, because certain teams, which I was pretty convinced, Motherwell and Kilmarnock being 2 of them, who would really struggle this season, have actually played really good football.
Yeah, and St Mirren, let's not forget.
But I never thought St Mirren would struggle.
Yeah.
I'm talking about teams I thought would be rigged. I always thought St Mirren would be on one of the errors I've made already this season was placing them 7th outside the top 6. I think St Mirren will get in the top 6. I think Aberdeen, the team that I put in there, won't.
I'm exactly the same.
You're changing your top 12, eh? Invoking the Alan Rough rule of...
Well, I always think if the evidence changes, you've got to change your mind.
But the evidence never changed for me, Hugh. I had Aberdeen in the bottom 6 at the
start.
I think I tweaked mine to put Aberdeen in the top 6.
I did as well, and it was madness because Kilmarnock are playing well. Kilmarnock played well against Celtic. They played, they sat back and had to soak up, but when Celtic scored and they realised they had to go for it, you saw another side of Kilmarnock, and I thought they looked okay,
And if you like the boy David Watson.
Yeah, if you're looking for people that's going to be, what is it about it? Do people maybe in that generation, Ali, just think, you know what, I hope we have a boy and I hope he's a midfielder. Is there anybody that could get pregnant, Hugh, that could just maybe have a defender, or a striker? Do you know what I mean? Because it brings me nicely to the Scotland squad, because Steve Clarke's at that point where these two games are the most crucial, because it kind of can heighten our expectation or kill us stone dead and flatten us.
Aye.
And I think even he is of the opinion 6 points is a must.
Aye, absolutely. Now, it's definite must.
2 home games as well.
2 home games, got to take that. I mean, if you go further down the line, we can go blah, de blah, de blah, what we do. But in the moment, in this international break, it's a 6-pointer. And it's... I know Greece got pumped by the Danes, but what my memory is of Greece at Hampden, and that sends the tremors in this 70-year-old body. You know, it's a.
But if you get 6 points, suddenly you say to yourself, okay, well, what's the showdown? And the showdown is the same as the Scotland-Italy game all those years ago. It's Denmark. You know, all bets are off.
I know.
We're all in for it.
And it is all in, because it's going back to the old almost World Cup qualifying, when being runner-up in a playoff is, I mean, Germany could be in the runner-up spot. I mean, I know we're talking ahead, but the runners-up is going to be dog eat dog. I mean, it's not a...
I think it's a playoff scenario.
Aye, but the teams that you could get...
the teams you could get is incredible. And they didn't... I sort of slightly fancied Scotland for a playoff spot, but never fancied them to win the group. I still don't fancy them to win the group, but having said that, they've put themselves in the position to win the group. That's all you can ask.
Yeah, and the amazing thing about it is we've still to be convinced on certain aspects of the defence, although you've got to give them credit. I think credit was due on the defensive display against Denmark, and then you just do what it says on the tin for the Belarus game. It's stats. You got to win, you win. So he deserves tremendous credit for that. The problem is, in the space of 2 or 3 years of us chatting about international football and going to the Euros, suddenly we're holding on to a 42-year-old goalkeeper, and the goalkeepers coming through are not of a standard of the 3 that we used to have: Marshall, Gordon, McGregor. You know, and no disrespect to Angus Gunn, Liam Kelly, or even Xander Clarke, who was on the periphery at one point. But boy, we're looking at goalkeepers and think, okay, we don't have great goalkeepers. And then, of course, you're saying to yourself, can you get the right mix in that back line that keeps it solid against Greece? And then I never worry about the midfield. I think the midfield takes care of itself. Amazing. Should Lawrence Shankland feel slightly miffed that he's not there?
I would have had him in on a personal level, just because I think it's always good to have players in who are scoring goals, are confident. I think Dykes is toiling. However, I think if you know Steve Clarke, you know the way he works. He's loyal to the players.
I
know Shankland's been in and out.
Yeah, but see that loyalty, Ali, is it more to do with the fact that Dykes fits into the system of press, run across that front line? I mean, the boy can't score goals for me, but
he holds the ball up.
He works his socks off.
I think there's definitely an element of that, but I think you can see why he stuck by him for that reason, and also I just think he is married to the players. He places a lot of trust and loyalty in the players that he's had in previous squads. I would have had Shankland in. I think it makes sense to bring in someone who's in good form, looks fit, confident. I think he's a different kind of player from Dykes. It gives you something else, but I think
I'd had Shankland as well. But everybody says, "Oh, you would have him in." The big thing is, who do you drop? I would have probably taken Bowie out. Yeah, I would, because he's not going to play Bowie anyway. I mean, he maybe get 5 to. The other one I'd have brought in was Scott Bain, which sounds maybe left field. But I think if you look at the goalkeepers, we've got goalkeepers apart from Gunn who are playing a lot and playing at the highest level. And Bain is playing at the highest level, and I've watched him a couple of times for Falkirk this season, and he's been more than fine.
He said after the game on the weekend that he should be in contention for it.
Yeah, I mean, Gordon will play. Yeah, or is it Gunn?
Gunn will play.
I think it's Gunn.
Gunn will play.
Huge game.
I mean, even but it all.
Would you play Gunn or Gordon?
Oh, Gunn all day long.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, go for it.
And the back line.
Well, the back line will be what he normally goes with. I mean, Hanley is his go-to all the time. No reason to go away from Hanley, because Hanley was terrific in Denmark. He was great on Saturday as well. He's an organiser, so what he's going to go, he'll go for interesting.
You've got Hanley, Hendry, Hickey, McKenna, Ralston, Robertson, Suter and Tierney.
Aye, that's the Robertson Tierney question again, isn't it? Does he go 3-5-1-2? Does he go, if he goes he's 4? Does he put Tierney at right back? Does he go back to that and play Robertson left back? I don't know. I mean,
I like Hickey.
I like Hickey a lot as well.
I think Hickey changes, see, when he's in. I think he's sensitive.
But you'd have to then, I don't think there's room for Hickey, Robertson and Tierney. Unless you play a 5.
Oh, you've got to play a 5, haven't you? Yeah. You go Hickey, Robertson, Tierney alongside Hanley and Suter.
You could do that.
That's the 5 I would go with.
That's what I'll do. Because he likes, Tierney becomes an overlapping player in that 3. So that's what he'll do.
And then you've got McTominay, who's a shoe in with McGinn. And then Gilmore. Well, I think he'll go with Ferguson.
He likes, or he might even go with Christie, because he likes Christie's energy.
He's going to go with Doak. No. Doak's going to play off one at the front, isn't he?
Aye. He's got to play Doak.
He's got to play Doak. So he plays Doak off. You know, it's a London Dykes or Shea Adams. You know,
that's why I think, you know, I was saying.
I'd have Shea Adams.
I don't know if I would maybe.
I don't think it all depends. I don't think it's.
See, when I see Dykes hang onto that ball,
I'm
thinking just hit the ball. We're winning in Denmark. You know,
it all depends.
Hit it first time.
If you want the ball to stick, you're going to play with Dykes. So
that's right. That's exactly what I think. And then if you play Christie, you know you're bringing
in that energetic. But when you look at it, though, I mean, there's obviously places where we're not as strong as the top teams, but you look at it, it's a decent mob we've got. You know, it's not. Yeah. I mean, I worry about Greece. So I thought Greece. I mean, but the good thing about Clarke, and he's a top coach, and the good thing, Clarke, after every sort of mini disaster, mini catastrophe, he always changes. He's not and he always tweaks. He's a marking good coach. Always tweaks.
He's got a Ryder Cup squad there. You know, one star and maybe a whole team of people who'll fight for each other.
Well, he's definitely got. Well, that's part of not topsy turvy in the squad over the years.
Yeah.
He's got a squad that'll fight for him. He's got a squad. I mean, I don't imagine there's any discipline problems in that squad. He's got a lot of really top professionals in that squad. We're talking about Champions League winners in that squad.
Absolutely, but the star man.
When you look down that squad and you look at where, I always think a really good barometer of it is where your players are playing your football. Yeah. And if you look, it's actually
Serie A,
the Premiership, the Bundesliga.
Who's the star man? McTominay?
McTominay at the moment, undoubtedly.
Have you read the papers lately? Because over in Italy, the journalists are up in arms because they think De Bruyne has been brought in and it's shifted him out of kilter. And it's changed the dynamics of Napoli.
Yeah, and it's wondrous to look at that, because you could almost have predicted it. You know, can two play together in that role? Because there's always I mean, you'd imagine De Bruyne could play a bit back as De Bruyne could play anywhere, but McTominay, you have to have him in that final third. You really do. I mean, for Napoli, I was lucky enough to watch him play for Napoli, and in that third, he's like an old style John Toshak, you know.
You don't shunt him out left and right.
No.
He's obviously great coming into that box late.
But it's the whole thing about, Peter, we were talking about earlier, it's the whole thing about fitting players into a system instead of having a system and just saying, no, we can't have the two of you. So De Bruyne, it's a nice problem to have. But you see, even like Scotland and Napoli have got the problem with Gilmore as well. I saw he scored the other night for Napoli, but he's tending to be a bit part player, and I think he's better than that, and I think he's much better than that. I like him. I think Scotland is a much smoother watch when Gilmour's on the
It'd
team.
be interesting, and I'm going to look it up, but it'd be interesting to see in his career how many starts he's made,
Aye.
Gilmour. Not many.
No.
Not as many as he should do for a player. Do you know what he's got about him? He's got a wee bit of what I call the Scott Allen about him, our pundit, because, you think he would be a regular starter because of the quality he has, but, whether it's injured or whether it's in a squad where he just, he's not get as many starts, and I think
To be fair to him, though, he has played.
A lot of it.
He's played at the highest level.
Absolutely. I would be sitting at Napoli thinking, you know what?
He's played at teams where it's not a given. Not I'm saying a given, but for example, if he'd have stayed at Rangers, one would have presumed he would have a career of, a couple of hundred games almost consecutively without injuries come to. But he was playing the Champions League winning squad at Chelsea. He's playing in a Serie A winning squad at Napoli. Yeah. Okay, the interregnum at Brighton, which they were a good mob as well. So yeah, I agree with you that I like to see him, but I always think, see when he comes on, I just like him as a player. It's that metronomic thing. Gives him it takes it.
In a really tight space.
You'd love to play with him because any time you're in trouble, he's not only will he take it, he looks for it.
2 games.
Yep.
6 points?
Well, that would be...
I know we need to. Do you think we will?
No.
You think we're going to draw or lose against Greece?
I think Greece is a big one. I think we've got... I know people say, but Denmark absolutely thrashed them, which they did. But I think Greece are much better than that. I think they will look at the way they played against Denmark probably too open. I think they'll sit, look at possession and try and hit Scotland on the break. I think despite Hanley and the rest's really good heroics over the last 2 games, I just worry a wee bit, and I hope I'm desperately wrong.
The only thing that I think will derail what I think will be 6 points, Ali, is if Steve Clarke's cautious approach comes out again and he starts making substitutions too late to either save it or win it. That's my problem with the manager at the moment.
I don't know if that's where it will be decided, to be honest with you. I am in Hugh's camp. I would love, you think you bank 6 points here, you can actually start thinking about your passport renewal date. But I think if Scotland get a point against Greece,
you want a point?
Maybe see it as a decent point. I think Greece are the ones that we've probably got to worry about.
So a draw?
I'm going to say a draw.
I obviously hope for it. I think I'll go for a draw as well.
Yeah, okay. Quite unusual for me at the moment. I'm going to go for a win.
Good.
I'm going to be optimistic, even though the two of you, are probably not ideal for a night out or hanging about with.
Well, you know that. You didn't have to come on the Journos to find that out.
I'm just looking. I'm thinking, what a barrel of laugh you in a night out. Interestingly enough, I don't know if you saw it, by the way. It was really funny. And I'm going to go back to Scotland in just a minute for my top 10, Ali. But did you see the thing I think it was the Daily Record, that the Hearts fans are the tightest in the whole of Scotland? And by the way, I know a guy who's a Jambo, right? And we used to play in a football team together, and when I lived in Edinburgh, he used to open the door in the pub to let you go in so that you'd go to the bar first to take the round. He was tight as a drum, and the Jambos, apparently, the majority of them are like that, tight. Are you surprised by that, Hugh?
I suppose a wee bit.
It's a good bit of fun, isn't it?
I just wonder how they rate it, though. Can you say of a complete support that you're that? It's the first time I've known that Hugh Keevins was a Hearts fan as well.
Absolutely, you're never a truer word spoken on that situation. But I wonder. The great thing is, I wonder. You have a meeting, and you've been to countless meetings in the morning as Journos with your boss. Who sat down and said, let's come up with your top 10 who are the tightest people who don't buy around. It's such a great tale, isn't it?
It's a made up story.
Of course it is. By the way, it's brilliant. It's a great noise up, isn't it? I mean, it's complete tosh. But nevertheless, but I do know a couple of Jambos who are as tight as a drum.
I've got a pal who's a big Jambo, and they're very generous with hospitality and other things. So
is that right?
I'd have to defend my Jambo.
Male or female?
Female, and their family are all Shambles.
Is that right? Could you introduce
mention
the family to Hugh and I, just to try and buck the trend? With Scotland in mind, I looked at the top 10 international goal scorers for Scotland throughout the year. We all know Lon Dalglish, but do you know the rest of them? Do you want to have a stab at it?
McGinn.
McGinn's in there, yeah.
McGinn's high.
McCoy's in there. Yeah, there's a couple you think, oh, there's not a chance.
Colin Steen might be high because he got a lot of goals in one game once.
Yeah.
Joe Jordan must be in there.
You think Joe Jordan, because you're fooled by the...
Well, he scored in 3 World Cups, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he scored against England a couple of times as well.
Yep. You going to go for Jordan?
Aye.
Yeah, you're going to throw Joe Jordan in?
Archibald?
Steve Archibald scored against, I think he scored against New Zealand, but no. And I have to tell you, Joe Jordan's not in there, Hugh, in the top goal scorer. So we'll get Dennis Law at 30 with Kenny Dalglish, although Dennis did it in 55 games. And then the third place is Hughie Gallagher.
Oh, goodness sakes.
So that's 24. Then a great Hibs player.
Laurie Riley?
Yep. He's got 22. Then you've named McGinn at 20. You've thrown in McCoist at 19. And then there's 4 more, but one of them is a tough one that I actually don't think I've heard of him.
Is one still contemporary?
Three of them are in the last 20 years.
Kenny Miller?
Kenny Miller, yeah.
I've never got that.
Kenny Miller, I think, deserves great credit. He's got 18. Another one, have you heard of Robert Hamilton?
Well, that goes back.
That's
18 canteen.
1899 to
That's the first. I think that was my first game.
Yeah, absolutely. 1899. Yeah.
I tell you one thing. I think he walked past me in the mix zone.
Yeah. Not only that, Hugh. I can remember the photograph they took of you, Hugh, on the road in 1899.
It wasn't a road. It wasn't even a road. There wasn't even roads. It was just a path.
With your flat cap on. Robert, have you got a minute?
Your doves, they said they go back.
Yeah, and some PR guy going, you can only speak to one player.
2 minutes.
It's for the Sundays.
Everybody thinks this job's easy, Ali. It's not, And then, of course, the great thing about the players that I'm rhyming off here, I'm looking at I can't think of one of them that's in this top 10 that would ever have a set of earphones on and walk past you as if they don't know you. You know what I mean?
No,
it's
not even John.
Absolute bugbear when I see players. And I think...
That's what, see, as journalists, it's a terrible thing to admit to, but you are predisposed to positivity to certain players because of their conduct and mixed zones. Like John McGinn there, right? John McGinn is a guy that he's just well-mannered and well brought up, that would stop and speak to you all the time. See that walking past and pretending you're on the phone or putting your headphones on, it predisposes you to a 4 out of 10 like, when you're doing the...
I had a journal who worked with us, I'm not going to say which company or whereabouts in my career, but he was a complete bag of wind, a Walter Mitty character, and
I don't know too many.
And he had the phone on and he was like, and we knew he wasn't doing a stroke of work. We said, is there any chance you? And he said, I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone to the Rangers manager. I'm not going to give you one because then you'll start to link it back to where I worked. I'm on the phone to the Rangers manager and then the phone rang.
That was a dangerous one.
Oh, you're a muppet. But anyway, apart from anything else, it bugs me. I see footballers. And I think somebody commented on it in the last week and mentioned the fact that there's nothing worse as a sports person. You see somebody with the earphones on because they don't want to engage with the supporters. And I think that's lousy. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, a kid, an autograph, an acknowledgement, a wave. See the amount of kids you see in a stand, Hugh, and a player waves to them. Makes their day.
Oh, you know that. If you've got kids yourself, you know that.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
You just see like the great interactions with taking kids to games, and I go back. I'm doing the sort of granddad thing and interactions. But there's always like talking about the Ryder Cup, that little vignette of Rory being on a podcast and being asked about trying to get Roy Keane's autograph when Keane's sitting next to him. I mean, they tried to laugh it off, but I thought, that tells a story.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Keane sitting in the hotel and saying, "Not today, kid." Really? Really?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Or the classic one, which I wonder if it has actually happened in the movie Jerry Maguire.
Aye.
Where the guy goes, I can't sign this. This is not the company that the official trading card.
It's coming soon.
Yeah.
It's coming.
You know, just do your
I
head in,
remember
wouldn't it?
being years and years ago, going back 20 odd years, being in Florida for a pre-season. I think it was a mid-season actually, with Celtic, and sharing a hotel with a team that were using the same facilities, an American football team, and they would only sign autographs for kids for $1. $1 for an autograph. Any
Joking
kids
me,
get
aren't you?
it. No.
Do you want me to tell you something? See the other thing about it, Hugh? I mean, there are people, professional people, who actually get kids to go out and get things signed, right? There are always unscrupulous people who are looking to make the fast buck, but more often than not, a signature. Oh, God, what's it worth? You know?
I know.
Realistically, the two players out with Kenny Miller, which you could shout, Robert Hamilton, two players, one of them, I'll give you away, still kicks the ball at five-a-sides.
McFadden?
Yep, James McFadden. And the other one is a guy that is a divisive character in Scotland, certainly the west of Scotland.
Maurice Johnson?
Yes. Maurice Johnston. Maurice Johnston, now living in Outer Mongolia.
That's still good.
Still getting
By the way, and still getting hassle from the Outer Mongolian Celtic support.
When the Ryder Cup was on at the weekend, I'm not hugely into golf, but it walked in, it was on the TV, and there was a Celtic shirt in the crowd at one point, and I was thinking, Johnny Jobson used to be the sports editor at the Sunday Herald, and we used to have this thing where he'd say, you see a Celtic shirt, no matter what the event is, there will be a Celtic shirt somewhere in attendance. You will have a photograph of someone in a Celtic shirt. So in Outer Mongolia, you can guarantee
there's
that in
somebody out there
the...
giving
I did a column on that once, and they were looking for an illustration of it. It was just after the Matters when El Pato won. Remember what was his name, the Argentinian golfer, the big guy, the Duck they called him. He won in a playoff, and one of the playoff holes. I was just about to putt. There's a guy with the hoops on, standing there. Anyway, so I started to. So this was quite a funny story. This, if you bear with me. So I wrote a column on this. You know, where you see them everywhere, and I illustrated it with Neil Armstrong landing on the moon with a hoops. So I got predictable abuse from one side of the city. But I was then at a thing in a GFT. Ooh, look at me, which is a question and answer with a director, and they asked for questions of the crowd. So I went, can I have a question? And later it was packed. And later this guy came up to me and said, I saw you ask a question. You're Hugh McDonald. It's like that. I said, yes. He says, you mentioned me in McConnell and that. I said, right. So I was the guy. I was the guy who was the hoop stairs at Liz.
For the benefit of some of our viewers and listeners who are thinking GFT, it's Glasgow Film Theatre for lovies.
I like the GFT.
I know. I'm only winding you up, honestly. When was the last time you were at the GFT?
God, the last time I was in the GFT,
You know?
I think it was a Christmas Eve showing of
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes, it's that type. Yep, absolutely. The last time I was in it was for the digitally restored 4K version of celebrating their anniversary, Gregory's Girl.
Oh, magnificent.
Which is, and of course, up comes, one of my childhood. What's the word I'm looking for? Yes.
Loves.
Loves, Claire Grogan.
Restraining order still in place.
Absolutely. Not within 2 miles of her. But absolutely with John Gordon Sinclair. Fantastic. I'm going to mention a guy who played for Scotland with distinction. I think it's only right that we pay tribute to him. Stephen Fletcher decided 38 years of age, 33 caps for Scotland, 749 club appearances, which is fantastic, 189 goals. He did score 52 times for Hibs. He was linked with all sorts of moves back to Scotland. In the end, I think he only played for Dundee United at some point in a cameo role.
Went to Celtic a few times as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. Famously under the Strachan Christmas window.
Yeah, and back to Hibs as well. Burnley, Wolves, Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday, Stoke City, Marseille, Dundee United and Wrexham, where he enjoyed what I would call the ultimate swan song with a movie star. I mean, if Stephen Fletcher turns up in a Ryan Reynolds movie, I would not be surprised because the two of them love each other. You know, he is one of those footballers that I like. That's a bygone era. You know, you mentioned Joe Jordan. Fletcher could hold the ball up. He could flick it on. He good left peg on him as well.
Technically good as well.
Yeah, and you know, he maybe not scored as many as he would have liked to, but he was one of those players that he was. You know, Chris Sutton comes into this category. Mark Hateley as well comes into this category, and guys like Craig Brewster. Players who score their fair share of goals, but they've always got a partner who actually lives off the fact that they're brilliant as well. I mean, the classic one was the other couple of weeks ago, and I absolutely leathered him for it, but it was funny. And he laughed heartily when I said, wow, there's Alan Shearer in the audience. He's a multi-millionaire. And I said, and there's Les Ferdinand living in a caravan in London. You know, we're going to put a plate round for him. And Les laughed furiously. I said, you know, because Les Ferdinand would have made more than a few goals for Alan Shearer. You know,
what a player Ferdinand was.
Ferdinand was magnificent.
What a lovely man as well.
Yes, absolutely. Really nice guy. Oh, he's
I went down to interview Mark Warburton years ago when he was at QPR, and me being me, I turned up a day early, kind of thing. I turned up really early because it was all buses and trains, and I was making my way there with Steve Martin and so anyway, I got there miles early, and they were actually still training. And Les Ferdinand, can I help you? And I said, listen, I'm really early, but I'm just sitting here watching training with Mark Warburton. And he sat down, he said, would you like something to eat? There's a hot buffet here, I'll bring this. And he went away and he brought me a plate of food and a coffee. And then, you know, me being me, is there any chance of 20 minutes?
absolutely.
Absolutely. And he talked away till Mark Warburton was just the kind of guy who just went, oh my, and I can remember what a player he was.
He was a great player, but you know the great thing about him, and this is why he loves the noise up. Shearer and I have a great laugh every time I'm in his company. If we're doing an event, I'll leather him and say he's one of the dullest footballers of all time, right? Great noise up, and Les sits there and you can see his shoulders going, and he comes up to me and he'll go, Peter, I love that. He says, every time you do him in, he says, it's magic. But a bit of devilment in him. But it brings me nicely to, as we're talking about Stephen Fletcher, I think he can look back in his career with, you know, and another thing about Stephen Fletcher, which I love as well, he's, you know, to get to that far in his life, great time at Wrexham, talking about Ryan Reynolds, calling him all the time, you know, and thought he was great.
I didn't know he was at Marseille.
I know.
Yeah, no, I didn't know he was there either. But the other thing about him as well is Hugh, he loves top of the range sports cars.
Does he?
I think he's. I might be overstretching here. He's certainly one of those guys that has, you know, you're kind of a Lamborghini type thing. Bugatti. I was going to say Bugatti, but I wonder if I'm stretching his financial capabilities on it. I think Amy McDonald.
You lost me at cars.
Yeah, cars. I love cars, and he's right into them, you know. But over and above that, I thought he was a good player, and I think he can hold his head high with his career.
He can certainly hold his head high if he's standing on his wallet. That's for sure. Looking back at that,
brilliant.
I mean, he's made a really good career for himself. See, you look back in that Hibs generation as well. How many players made a really good career? You know. Just before and after, and including Fletcher, just that maybe 8-year period before Fletcher and after. Yeah. And some really good players in that team.
Yeah, absolutely, and they've all gone on. I mean,
and Tam McManus as well.
Tam. I mean, I wonder, God, Tam.
Whatever happened to him?
Yeah, absolutely. Tam, Scott Brown, Derek Riordan, Fletcher, Kevin Thompson,
Gary O'Connor,
and the boy that I like a lot, Stephen Dobie.
Oh.
You know, really nice lad.
What a player he was as well.
So they had a great bunch. You just wonder at times, you know, when clubs and Hearts
Whittaker
brings us back to the start, is Hearts holding on to a bunch of players just for a 1 and 2 year window to do something really special. That's what the fans are hoping for. It brought us back right to where we were talking at the start of the whole thing. But just on that, and I thought I'd finish with a couple of things, whether we've got enough time to give them any a great gusto, we might as well try. I watched the Galatasaray-Liverpool game, and the atmosphere was fantastic. Sometimes I think because we're insular in our thinking, we overhype sometimes the atmospheres at Ibrox and Celtic Park, you know, and then you go and you listen in other stadiums and you think, my God, the noise is relentless. Ali, the Galatasaray fans, they never stopped.
Yeah, and they have such a pretty formidable reputation for that too. And I think the German clubs, I think when you think of Dortmund, and culturally I think in German clubs you have a thing, you'll keep me right in this, about backing the team, no matter what, that you're there to support the team, and there's this wall of sound. I've really noticed it at games, sometimes in Scotland, you know, it's a Carnaptious crowd. It's a crowd that are on the backs of players a lot of times. So although you can get fantastic atmospheres at games and get a crowd behind the team, it's very circular. Like they need to feed off the energy of what they're seeing on the pitch. I think sometimes when you go out and about, you have a different mentality, a different culture among supporters too.
Yeah, I mean 442, the magazine, does great features on these things, and they had their top 10 atmospheres. One of them I'm not too sure of, and I know I'm going to cause a fair bit of consternation here, Hugh. You know about Borussia Dortmund and the Yellow Wall. It's a fantastic stadium and a great atmosphere when they're in full flight. They have at number 2 Liverpool, Anfield. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
No.
I think that's more.
I'm a big Liverpool fan.
That's historic. That's historic. You know, fans cascading down the Kop in waves and things like that. I mean, because we've been to Liverpool recently, Peter, on a few occasions, and even for big games, and it's been okay.
Yeah,
but it's not been the atmosphere. I mean, when I think back on it, if somebody says to me, and I always say this, how many decades I've been watching football, there was nothing, and I've been in 5 continents watching football, there was nothing better than Hampden in the old days. The Hampden Roar was not a myth. 130-odd thousand, and I remember Celtic Leeds. Paid. I remember Celtic Leeds, the noises. I remember Celtic Rangers games, when, especially cup finals, where a goal would go in and it was like you'd be standing in the roar. It was thunder and lightning. The roar would rumble across the ground.
Yeah.
And then when that roar died down, the stour would go up because the Rangers fans were standing in a dry area. And, you know, it was like a haze. I mean, the best atmosphere, if somebody said to me, I've ever been at, I would say 1973 Scotland, Czechoslovakia, and 1970 Celtic Leeds.
Yeah.
But in modern times, I think English and Scottish grounds fine, but not the way they were. And there's good reasons for that. Bucket seats, stewarding and things like that. People a bit more thing. But as I wake up every morning and look up at my wall, there's a picture of me at La Bombonera, La Bombonera at Boca Juniors, and it's just, I'll say to anybody who's ever thinking of going to Argentina, do it, because it was spectacular.
Yeah, they've got Liverpool at 2nd place. They've got La Bombonera, Boca Juniors in 3rd place. Celtic Park comes in at 4th. And then they've got the Stadio Diego Armando
I've been there as well. It's
Napoli.
Yeah, it was
good,
really good.
Yeah.
Again, a one club city.
Yeah, and no surprise they've got Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah,
Red
been
Star
there as well.
Belgrade is bonkers.
It was mental.
You know, when you get a situation where the ultras decide who's leaving and where you're sitting, you know what I mean? And if you stray,
and when you're leaving.
and if you stray into the wrong seat, you get your head kicked in. Which is the tour guide for the Journos said anybody who sits in the wrong seat over there gets battered. And we're looking at him and saying, well, what about the police? No. They tell the police when they're leaving. And I thought to myself, wow, that is a strong ultras, you know?
Well, I was like in the bomb, but in Argentinian football, there's no police. There's nothing but riot police and guards as you go to the ground, but not inside the stadium. They're on the perimeter of the stadium. So anything goes.
Yeah, and then, of course, Galatasaray's in there at number 7.
Never. That's the first one I've not been at.
Yeah, Barcelona. in at number 8?
No, not for me.
Stade Velodrome, Marseille?
Well, I was there last week.
Hey, that's why you're here.
It was terrific.
Yeah.
Oh, it was another one city, one club.
I'm going to do what you do, Hugh. See, when I get, I pray to God that when I get to 70, if I get there, that I can just saunter around great grounds, the ones that I'm not barred from, and go and see the football. Which would be
it's a joy. It's
Small window.
it's a joy of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like I mean, I went and did the tour at Marseille, and I'm not kidding you. It was like away, and I went to the game on the Sunday, and I was obviously hours early, and I go, and this guy comes, there's a wee light rain, overcast day, and I'm there 2.5 hours before, well, longer, before kick-off, in the club shop, and it. Guy comes down the stairs, game's off. Aye, so it is, you know. No, there's a weather warning.
Is that right?
So I'm walking back into town. I said, that's me Scoobied. I'm flying back on the Tuesday. This is a Sunday. And, you know, guy was saying, well, you'll get your money back. I said, I don't want my money back.
You want the experience?
I said, but when I got by the time I got to hotel, Ali had texted me, oh, you're in luck. He says, they're playing it tomorrow night. Real? Never heard of that. A postponement in the next game.
Yeah.
So that was tremendous.
Yeah. What was the cup final like in Outer Mongolia when Mo Johnson actually appeared?
Towards the end, he took some abuse of the Celtic.
for the boy in the Celtic top over in the corner. So, and the 10th one, and I have to say, I would agree with the San Siro. I was at an Inter AC Milan.
I've not been at that
cup match, and it was unbelievable. And Ronaldo was at his peak. He was phenomenal, and as they called him, the phenomenon. But the thing about it is, it always amazes me is how one fan managed to get a Vespa into the stadium. Into the stadium, Ali. I don't know how he got it. Where he drove just past, flicked his ticket, and then he went. But he had a Vespa in it. And of course, it goes back to, you know, when you talk about atmospheres. Probably, you know, when the guy walks in with the pig's head to throw it at Figo, you know, you're thinking, me and the pig, you know what I mean?
It was like us. One of the great atmospheres will not be there was the Porto derby in Buenos Aires I went to was San Lorenzo versus Huracan. It's tremendous derby. And the guy said to us that was getting us in, said to me, you know, because old man, you go there and we'll just shove you through there and you'll get in and all that. And I said to Ali, right, you go with the ultras. So the next thing I looked round, and Ali's carrying what I think is a roll of carpet, which is 100 metres long, which was unveiled.
Is that right?
And that was some of Tifo.
Yeah.
That was some atmosphere. And see if you're talking about in Argentina, like they start singing about an hour and a half before the game, and they're still singing when I'm in the plane home. It's just like an all-day Murphy job, you know. It's just everybody's into it.
Yeah.
Tremendous stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, we've gone through some great stadiums. You might have a stadium that you've visited and enjoyed the atmosphere, and it should be mentioned in the top 10. Why not mention it in the comments below? We'd love for you to give us your thoughts on it. The Journos, as ever, on Premium, and eventually, as the week progresses, we release it on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel too. I hope you enjoy the chat that we give you on a regular basis. Monday to Friday, the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel is absolutely free, so hit the subscribe button if you can on that. But we've enjoyed the show today. A real trip down memory lane, bits of opinion, bits of optimism. And then eventually Ali and Hugh started talking about our chances with Scotland, and we're all on a downer. Anyway, great to see. If you want to join us again on the Journos, please do so, where you can find out more of the 784 grounds that Hugh McDonald has visited on his own or with his son. From the Journos, Ali, Hugh and myself, Peter Martin, thank you for listening and watching.